Yeah, so hi guys, welcome back to our course. So in the last video we have developed some basic things, like we have generated our list with our sample data. I have updated the Google Drive link in previous video, so you can download from the Google Drive link. Okay, the sample data. Here we have added one filter option and one floating action button, which we use further, right? We used to add a transaction here and we used to filter out based on different categories. Okay, so now today we'll discuss about the models. Now see, suppose we have a hard coded string here, notes. Okay, suppose if I remove this and just save it, so you can see it's null. Like there is a minor mistake. Suppose if I remove this also and just save it, it can be done by any person, right? It can be a human mistake, right? There can be a null, right? So to avoid these mistakes, of course, like if we want to handle it, we can display it like this. We called it null handling. Okay, it means that if this value is will not be made to null, then if this value is not equal to null, then it will the value will displayed, else it will be displayed with this. So this operator means this, that if the current variable has a value, this value will be able, with this value will return, otherwise it will return this. Okay, whether we just use a ternary operator, right? So this is an alternative of ternary operator basically. Okay, but we have a condition here, like if this condition will not be equal to null. So I'll give you one example. Suppose if I'll explain, if not equal to null, if copy, this will be print, else this is how it works. Okay, if I put it as notes here, it will back. Okay, so this is how it works. So we'll add this condition in every case, so it will not give us null values, right? Or we can have an empty string as well, but empty string doesn't look good, so that's why I added this. Okay, so how we will simplify this, avoid this human error mistake? We can create a model. How we can create it? Just follow here. I'll create one new folder here. I'll put it as models. Now in models, I'll have a one folder here which is called transaction model. Okay, now in this I'll generate one new file, transaction model dot dart. Okay, now this is our, now how we will generate, will follow simple basic rules where we used to follow in OOPS concept. We create one simple class which is called transaction model. Okay, will have some variables, right? Like if we see this a single model here, okay, we have a date parameter which has a string, right? So we'll have a string date. Okay, another we have amount, which can be double also, right? Here it is int, but we can, but maybe chance of double as well, right? So we'll have a this. Next we have a category parameter which is also a string, so we'll create a variable category. This, we have a type also, we can define it. As we can see here that we have two types, 1 and 2, so we can define a custom here, enum transaction type. Okay, and we can define here expense or income. Okay, and we can define here transaction type transaction what name is this? Type. And at the last we have a nodes parameter, fine here, final, which is a string, right? So we'll have a string nodes. Okay, now it's showing us error. Why? Because we didn't create any constructor here. So we'll create one constructor here. Okay, see, if you will create this we'll add all variables. Okay, but it still can create a issue because you didn't see when you use this model, it can like in the amount parameter maybe you just write as like it is difficult to understand, right? Like in first variable, if I write it transaction model. Okay, now what it will saying, it is saying me three positional arguments. Okay, like suppose if we write here 12, and now it is saying me added here, suppose I'll type here um, okay, suppose I type here num, and here I type an. Now how you will define it, whether it's a category or another parameter, whether it's a category or date parameter. Like see, you have to check it here, right? First is amount, okay, I have to amount. Second, you have to add category, then date, okay, right? But you have to check it, right? So to avoid these things, we can just make it in a curly braces and we can add a required parameter here. Required basically because these variables are not null. So I have added here a required parameter here. If any variable is can be null, right? If any variable is, suppose if I'll write here string data as a question mark means it refers to a null variable. Okay, and I remove this, so it will say it. Okay, one second, amount, okay, one second, suppose I write this, now it will say me that okay, it is fine, right? Because I make it null, so maybe this variable can be a null or cannot be a null, right? So we'll make all these variables nulls, because if we fetch the data from our database or maybe from API, whenever we create any model, we used to make the variables null, because any variable can be null, right? And if and anyhow if any variable comes not null, sorry, if any way make, suppose if we create any variable with a not null, right, required with the required parameter, and we used to get some data from API, and that variable and the value comes null, so it can lead to crash, or it can lead to throws an exception something, right, whenever we use this model. So that's why we used to have a null values. Okay, so if the value is, if the current value is null, it will accept the null and put this value as a null. This variable date is equal to null, okay, amount is equal to 200. So this is how we handle the null things also. Okay, now what we'll create now, uh, if we just go to our home page, here you can see, if we just highlight, it's saying map string object. That means this is a string and object. This is basically a map. Whenever we have a key value pair, we call it map. Okay, so this is a string, all are strings, and this is an object. Why object? Because some are string and some are other integer or double values, that's why. Okay, so this is a string object, so this is called a map. So we need to convert our map data to into our model form, right? So what we will do, will uh, transaction model from JSON, we used to say, okay, we say from JSON map string dynamic JSON. Okay, and we'll define it here as a transaction model here. Okay, now we'll define here JSON of amount. We'll define here JSON of category. We'll define variable JSON date, JSON notes. At last, now as you can see here that this type can be, this type in this our sample model is basically defined as 1 2 1 2, right? We have an integer value, right? uh, so we can handle this like if type is equal to 1, then we have a transaction type of, one second, copy and paste. Yeah, if this is a 1, then it is a expense, else copy, it can be null, so that's why I am adding one more condition, copy dot income else null, because another value can be a null, that's why, right? We'll simplify this. Okay, we are currently using our we are currently using the sample data, right? When we are working with the like dynamic data, or we'll create our own data, we'll create database files and something, then we'll simplify these things. Okay, so here you can see here that we have added a from JSON method. Now we can, now when we are create model, we used to have a two functions, one is from JSON, then is to JSON. To JSON is basically converting this model to back to the map string format. Okay, so how we can do here, we can do by this to JSON model copy model dot amount, one second, transaction model, model dot amount, category, model dot category, date, model dot date, notes, model dot notes, and last we have type. Now as we have simplified this 1 to 2, same thing we have to do here. We have to just model dot type is not equal to null, if else we put it as null, right? So if, what we have to do, model dot type dot index plus 1. This see use this question, this is exclamatory operator basically used to, we used when we are sure that this value cannot be null in any case, right? This is basically a null operator, you can say, or I don't know the exact name, but this we use to when we are sure that this value cannot be null, because if the value comes null, okay, so the app can be the, if this value is null and you have used exclamatory sign, then this code can crash or app can throw an exception, any thing happens here. So that's why when you are sure that this value cannot be null, then use this operator, otherwise not. So I have added here, if not equal to none, then I have put it this, else it will be null. Okay, plus why I have to use, because it is 0, it is 1, right? It is 0, it is 1. So if is 0 plus 1, it will be 1, and if it is 2, sorry, if it will be 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, right? So it automatically increase the value. Now we'll simplify this code, transaction model dot from JSON. uh 1 second. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, so now it fixed. So factory constructor is basically a special type of constructor that return either the existing instance or a new instance of our class. Okay, we already defined one constructor, right? So this is a special type where we used to define that this is a new constructor, or it will be basically return a current constructor with the new values. Okay, so we'll use this. Okay, now it's throwing some errors because now it's not a it's not a map, right? It's basically our model. So we have to define this. Copy is not equal to null if else null. Right, we'll define here. Same thing we'll define here. It is defined here because we have to, we can directly use this. Wait, what happens? Okay. Yeah, actually the item amount is basically a double value, right? It's not a string value, so that's why it is throwing error. So we'll hot restart our app so we can see the changes. Of course there is no visible changes because we have just created one model here, right? Hint is not a subtype of type double. Great. Okay, let's fix this. If JSON is not equal to null, we can have a JSON of amount is int. If, then we'll use this copy as int to double, else this, else null. See, so this is how it handles. Now one thing I want to share with you, we can use another approach as, see, you have created your all from JSON to methods to JSON, right? You can always use some sort of like JSON to Dart, or like in Android Studio it is also VS Code, I'm not sure. Okay, right? So we have multiple extensions here, we can just put our JSON and create, right? But I was preferred to use a freezed package. Freeze package is basically allows you to generate your JSON models automatically. Okay, suppose firstly you have to actually import this package. So how you can do so, you can just write freezed flutter, you can find it here. This is the package you have to import, but it is not a single package you have to do. Firstly you have to import this package. Okay, flutter pub add, and you have to add freezed. we have to add one more package here. Wait, we have to add actually 2 3 packages. Wait, where is the documentation? Yeah, so you have to add multiple packages, right? We have to add freeze annotation. Okay, so we have imported all the package. Now what we'll do, we'll remove this, or we'll just comment this code. Okay, now we'll generate. Now see, basically freeze, what we'll do, I'll create here a freeze will help us. Okay, now we'll generate frf. Great. So you can see here that it automatically generate. We have to just define the transaction model here. Okay, now we'll define our variables. We'll define, this is a constructor, right, as we discussed. Now here we'll define our all the parameters here. Amount. Okay, oh sorry, one second. We have to actually define like this: double amount, string category. We'll have a string date, string notes, string type. We have, I guess we have an integer value. Right now I'll taking the common values, because as we are currently working on the fixed model. When we are moving to the database and we'll add a dynamic data, then I'll change this model. Okay, as of now, to just to understand you, I'll take simple values. Okay, so I'll add it int also, so it will not create any issue. And make sure whenever, if you create any non-null, you have to add it here, required parameter, otherwise it will give an error. So you have to make it nullable. We have amount, category, date, nodes, type. Okay, we have defined all the things. And yeah, okay, now these are throwing errors because it will solve. Okay, it will solve, don't take stress about it. So we have created here. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to just run a basic command which is called this. This command will will be run only when you have added in your pubspec this package build runner. Build runner is basically what will do when you have any things that are auto generated. Basically the things which are auto generated in our Flutter, we used to have a build runner package, and we just run this command here. It will take time, wait. So as this command is succeeded, okay, so my model is generated and all errors are clear in this. And you have also, you can check here, like if you just there are 2 other files also generated that are auto generated, so you don't have to change anything in these of the files. If you want to do anything, just here, don't change those files. Okay, it is auto generated, change here and then again run this command, it will automatically fix the issues. Okay, and if any error happens or it will fail, check first of all, if you check the logs, it will show you what error is basically. Okay, and if not, it is any error showing, you're not able to understand, just review your code once. Okay, and still you are not able, just let me in the comment box. Now we can use this. Great, now we have to do this. One we are using for expense, right? And yeah, now we can just run it and it will run. App is successfully launched, and aaja bhai. Yeah, so output is displayed. Okay, nothing is UI point of change, but we have just optimized our code in a such a way that it can be useful for further use also. And it is also, this is the best practice to create models, to modify the things, to better understanding. Like if any other developer comes to this project, he or she can easily understand what the old developer has written. Okay, so in the next video we'll improve some UI changes. Okay, we'll improve some UI and is it not looking good, and we'll create further with the filter or add create transaction, right? So let me know if you have any issues or any doubts in this, and we'll start with the next video. Okay, bye bye.